Hi, I'm Terry Michael, the Bible Lady, and today we're going to talk about the bunny, the resurrection, and the sightings. So last week we talked about Passover, Easter, and I mentioned the bunny, and I said I'd talk about it this week, so I don't want to forget it. And I want to tell you a funny story first. This is about my kids, and when we traveled back and forth to school, they went to Jesus Center School, and we'd be on the highway, and I would have a cassette on, and around Easter time, I had a cassette about when they were having the trial, and they were saying, "Give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas," and my kids would say, "Give us the rabbit, give us the rabbit." Yeah, I know. It was too funny. Not funny, but too funny, and I remember those days. But I want to do I want to talk about the bunny thing. You see, the rabbit, I looked this up. Okay, the rabbit is associated with Easter because of ancient Mesopotamia and Syria. So about 3,000 years ago, the hare, which is related to the rabbit, was symbolized for death and rebirth. So the early people then, would take and they shifted it to rabbits after, kind of like my kids did. No, they shifted it to rabbits, and then the rabbits were depicted on gravestones in the Greco-Roman world. So early Christians had taken the rabbit as a symbol on their gravestone of death and rebirth. So see, there is a connection, not just a little, with the eggs and stuff like that, because rabbits don't lay eggs, right? So we're done with the bunny, at least for a while. That clears it up. Now I want to talk about Jesus' resurrection. And I want to look at a story that Jesus told his disciples in Luke 16, verses 19 to 31. So there was a beggar and a rich man. The beggar's name was Lazarus, but it wasn't the Lazarus that Jesus rose from the dead. Now this is a truth that Jesus told. It happened because when he told parables, he normally would not give names unless there was a truth to it, unless it happened. So the beggar laid at the rich man's gate, and the dogs would come and lick his sores. Oh, and the rich man never did anything for the beggar, the poor beggar. So the beggar dies, and he's carried by angels into Abraham's bosom. Now, Abraham's bosom is a Hebraic phrase for paradise. So the rich man dies, and he was buried. No angels there. The rich man is tormented. And it says in verse 23, in Hades, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. Lazarus, the beggar. Okay? So, friends, Hades is hell. And that's where this man was. The rich man spoke to Father Abraham, and he asked him that he send Lazarus to his 5 brothers to warn them about hell. He didn't want them coming there. And Abraham said, they have Moses and the prophets, and your 5 brothers can hear them, basically. I mean, that's not the exact words, but that's what he said. And the rich man said, no, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. In other words, what he was saying, Moses and the prophets weren't going to get the job done because he knew firsthand it didn't get the job done for him. He wanted Lazarus to go. And this is an incredibly sad part. Abraham tells him, if they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead. That's in 16:31. That's the last verse of the chapter. And I thought about it. Even if someone rises from the dead. Sometime later, Jesus, he had told the story told his disciples this, and sometime later, he was crucified and resurrected. And then there were sightings. People saw him all over. There were about 10 events that are recorded where Jesus appeared to different people. There were up to 500 at one time that he appeared to. And there were about 10 events that he appeared to people over the 40 days before he went up to heaven. Some that he appeared to were believers, but who knows how many weren't? And who knows how many remained that way after they saw him? And look at today. We have someone who rose from the dead. We have Jesus. And how many fall into the category of they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead? I pray you are not in that group. That's the going to Hades group. Yes, I've said it before, we're spiritual beings. We live forever. Only we get to choose where we live on this side. We all know that the bunny's not going to do it. He's not going to get us to heaven. No, Jesus did that. Let his resurrection convince you. Have a blessed day. Until next time.